saying, because that's what most people say. I know a scout texted you last night and told you all that.
Maybe.
Andrew Bogut would be playing if Houston wanted to play big. He can't play in this series, but he'll play against Denver if they meet Jokic, and he'll play against Portland if it's Cantor, if they get that far. Then let's go back to the bench. Now, I'll give you Iguodala's older, but Iguodala is playing his best basketball of the season right now. Now, can he keep it up? That's a fair question. Draymond Green playing his best basketball of the season.
Draymond has been spectacular.
Okay. Other guys they had playing on that team, getting minutes. Leandro Barbosa as an older player. Festus Ezeli. Brandon Rush. I remember Brandon Rush hitting a couple big shots. Like, they had guys that when they went elsewhere couldn't do anything after being with Golden State. My point is, if the core is there, then you just fit pieces around them that won't be very good elsewhere, but with Steph and Clay and Draymond, they'll be fine. Jonas Jerebko looked pretty good the last game. Hit a big shot, though. Kevin Looney, you put him somewhere else, he probably can't even get on the floor. He's fine for them. So the depths may not quite be what it used to be, but I think we overstate the depth and the strength in numbers back then.
So you would acknowledge Houston wins tonight.
Well, I've got Golden State winning the series, and I've got Houston. I'm going to respect Houston enough to say they win tonight, but I will not be surprised if Golden State wins tonight.
What?
Yes. Look, this is a legacy-defining these next two games.
For Harden?
For Harden and Chris Paul and Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah.
You know, we know D'Antoni, I'm in the minority. I think he's a Hall of Fame coach. I think he's this generation's Don Nelson. You know, the quirky, changed the game, won a lot of games, didn't win a championship. But for Chris Paul, because this might be the last year where he's even remotely close to his prime.
If Houston loses these next two games, they go from gifted to chokers.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, if D'Antoni and Harden and Paul don't win here, I've defended Chris Paul for 10 years. I can't defend him. I mean, I can't defend him if he disappears the next two like the last two.
He will, in last 3 games, average 13.6 assists, 33% shooting. There are people, I'm not one of them, but there are people that think they lost last year because Chris got hurt.
Right.
Imagine putting on top of that, they lost this year because he didn't deliver.
Or KD got hurt.
Right.
So you couldn't win when Chris.
And you couldn't close the deal.
Oh, man, this series now, the pressure's all on Houston.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt. But where you start ranking him with other all-time great point guards depends on what he does in this series, in this playoffs. And Harden, we know he's had some playoff clunkers, just about all of them, if not all of them, in critical games.
No, that is
right. It's not game 1 or 2.
Hey, listen, I bang on Westbrook, but because I think Harden's the better player.
Right.
But Harden, because I think he's more likable than Westbrook, the beard, there is Harden's quirky and kind of, whereas there's an intensity with Westbrook that could turn you off, does to me. Harden's had,
he's had some
awful games in big spots.
And we're not even counting, at least I'm not, his first finals or only finals appearance in Oklahoma City when he disappeared. I gave him a pass on that because he was so young, but that maybe was a precursor of what was to come. You're right about this is Harden. This is kind of like for him what Westbrook's gone through, struggles in the postseason.
But we haven't banged on Harden like Westbrook.
No, and this is why I almost think if Harden doesn't deliver in these 2 games and they lose, I almost think it's worse than what Westbrook has done. And here's why. A lot of us don't think of Westbrook as this great basketball player.
Great athlete.
He's a great athlete, phenomenal athlete, a phenom, a spectacle who can average a triple-double. But when it comes to the winning plays, smart basketball, the kind of stuff that gets you championships, we don't view him that way. So when he falls in the playoffs, it's like, oh, and maybe we've gotten used to it too the last 3 years. But Harden is a heady guy. He doesn't win with athleticism. He wins with skills. He figures it out. He's a smart player. He's winning with his mind. But in the playoffs, when it's time to do that, he hasn't figured it out.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. The difference is Westbrook, who's always been greater athlete than pure basketball talent. When he loses in the playoffs, we're like, well, we still kind of admire his primary fastball gift.
Right.
We don't look at him as a perfect player. But Harden, we're now told analytically, is better than Kobe. Okay, so you're putting him in that class. So when he loses, we're like, oh, you're a head case.
Yes.
Like Westbrook is a flawed but brilliant player, but we all know he's flawed. Like he's not a shooter. Harden's like, well, there's no flaws with his offensive game. He gets cold. He freaks out. And
here, one of the most telling things is Game 6 against San Antonio 2017. And then there was one more playoff game where he struggled. He shot 2 for 11.
I know.
A guy that averages 30 points, 11 shots, that's all you got up. And then last game, game 5 against Golden State. That's what was most alarming to me, was he didn't have the ball in his hands. Like all year, they've played with him having the ball, ISO. And the last 7 minutes, Eric Gordon brought it up 2 straight times. Chris Paul had the ball in his hands. Harden wasn't playing Harden basketball. So this is huge. Look, I think he's a great player, and I think Golden State's going to win. But he's got to deliver. Him and Chris Paul got to deliver.
And D'Antoni.
I'm
telling you, by Sunday night, we could look at the Rockets as the Sacramento Kings.
Well, I've already said.
Just choked against the Lakers in a Game 7.
I've already said that these Houston Rockets will go down as this generation's Sacramento Kings and the Phoenix Suns of Steve Nash. Both of them. Close, but couldn't get over the hump. And obviously the connection with Phoenix is Mike D'Antoni. As good a coach as he is, he lacks attention to detail.
He does.
And he's non-confrontational. In a tight playoff series where every little minuscule point matters, those two things come back to bite you. When something has to change and you're not going to get in somebody's butt, that comes back to bite you. When your team is so used to being loosey-goosey that they miss the rotation or that they make the bad pass or, they forget an assignment, those things come back to haunt you.
He's the opposite of Pat Riley, whose attention to detail was almost obsessive, and he was consumed with intensity.
Yeah,
D'Antoni's like point. Driving the Fiat,
right.
In Italy, the Italian good-looking basketball coach. Yeah, we'll get to just shoot some hoops. I mean, one guy was almost over-intense. The other guy's too casual, and one guy's got a lot of rings. Chris, I got a million things to talk about here. I'm going to throw a Steph thing at you because I think the guy gets no respect, and you got to explain it to me. And Ben Simmons looked pretty good last night. At Philadelphia.
You're like a roller coaster on this with Ben.
No, I love Ben. Embiid, whatever.
He was defending.
Any coach or GM will tell you the foundation of any business starts with talent. That's why we spend so much time, the combine and the draft. It's not about ideas. It's about players. It's about talent. No surprise teams dedicate so much time and effort toward it. The same works when you're starting a business in ZipRecruiter. Okay, they do the talent scouting for you. One click sends your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards. And they don't stop there. They have matching technology that scans thousands of resumes out there to find the people with not only the right experience, but then it invites them to apply to your job. It's so effective, 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within 24 hours. First day, right now. Try it for free. This exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/herd. That easy. The smartest way to hire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/HERD.
Gene, why don't you start at the beginning?
Something's happened to me.